So I've logged into the 3M encoder, and the instructions are posted on Blackboard there. The web address is 3m.ahima.org. Our username is RAS001, and the password now is AHIMA #35. Once you enter that, and you have to allow pop-ups for this encoder to work correctly, you'll get to this screen, this patient information screen. The default gender is female, and you can leave that as female unless you're coding a diagnosis or procedure that's could only be happening in a male patient. And the age of admission can be any age unless you're doing a pediatric or procedure done on infants. So really you can choose anything you want there if we're just doing regular adults. And you don't really need to worry about the admission and discharge dates because we're just going to be practicing coding and not working on a particular episode of care. The product defaults to DRG Finder, and you can leave it at DRG Finder and you'll be able to code CM and PCS codes, or you can change it to Code Finder for inpatient coding, or you can change it to HCPCS CPT if you're just doing CPT coding, or HCPCS CPT Finder down here for CPT. That's usually the one I use for CPT, but I'm just going to choose Code Finder for CM coding right now. And you see it takes away the admit date because we're not going to be calculating any DRGs or APCs. We're just looking for codes, and I don't care about the grouper. So I'm just going to hit continue here. And this will bring us to our summary screen. There's nothing on it, of course, because we haven't chosen any codes yet. So I'm just going to click on Add Diagnosis to find a diagnosis code in ICD-10-CM. And I'm going to work on some that are in our lab activity for Module 3. So our first one is acute cystitis with hematuria. 3M is a logic-based encoder. It'll ask you a series of questions to get to the correct code. I'm going to think like the book and just put in the main term that I think it would be indexed in. So I'm going to enter cystitis and hit continue. So it gives me cystitis, yay! Exudative, hemorrhagic, septic, or suppurative. Those are our non-essential modifiers in parentheses there. We're going to ignore those and just choose cystitis. You can see that it shows me what's on the next screen, which kind of gets in the way when you don't want to see that yet. But if you hover, it shows you what's on the next screen, what your choices will be if you choose that one. So we have acute cystitis with hematuria. So we want to read the list here and see what's our next step. So I'm just going to choose number 5, acute. So acute. And our choices on this screen are with hematuria of trigony or other. We're just going to choose with hematuria because that was our documentation. We don't have documentation of the bacteria or virus as the cause of disease, so I'm going to say do not wish to code. And we're not coding any procedures right now, so no procedures. So this is the code that it has chosen for us, N30.01, and there are no decimal points in this display, but it's N30.01, acute cystitis with hematuria. So that's our correct code. And you can go back and click this history button. It'll show you the path that you took to get to this code. So again, 3M is logic-based, so if you answer one of those questions wrong, then you will arrive at the wrong diagnosis code, so you can go back and see where you went wrong. And then you can actually click on any one of these parts of the path to see what decision you might have made. So our first code, N30.01, we're going to keep that one. So let's continue. And up here you see we have some references. If you click on those, oh, we can't see because of the way this is recording, but we have a lot of choices for references that are built right into the encoder, and you just X out and it'll bring you right back to the screen you were at before. I'm going to click on add another diagnosis just to show you one more. Our second one is lipoma of subcutaneous tissue of the right leg. I'm going to put in lipoma. is my keyword. You can direct code too. If you already know the code, you can just put that in there. I'm going to choose number 1, lipoma. So now my choices are, let's see, any of these that we want? I'm going to go for other. None of these seem correct, so I'm going for other. And then you can't see all my choices the way it's recording, but it's of the legs. We have it of the subcutaneous tissue of right leg. So I'm going to choose legs, and it's right, and it's subcutaneous tissue or fascia. And I'm going to go backwards. Oh, it's asking me lipectomy. So we don't have a procedure to code, so I'm going to say no procedures. You can always go back if you think you missed a step. Hit the back button. It won't lose your path. So D17.23, benign lipomatous neoplasm of skin and subcutaneous tissue of right leg. That would be our correct code. So we'll choose that one. I'm just going to hit continue and it'll show us the other codes. If it didn't just freeze on me. Continue. Oh, there we go. Back. So when you hit continue, when you have already chosen a code, it'll show you all the codes that you've chosen so far. So if you're coding an episode of care, you can see the diagnosis codes for that particular patient. We're just using the same patient over and over. And you can see here's the code book, which is just like a picture of the code book online. You can't really see it good for my display here. And then the other one is the coding handbook. So if there's a mention in the coding handbook, the AHA coding handbook, you can click through that and it'll show you that page, or if there's any notation about that. You can also go to Coding Clinic if there's any articles about Coding Clinic for that particular code. So I'm going to click on Next Patient. That'll clear out this one and bring me back to where we started. So if you want to go to a different type of coding, you can change that product here. So I'm just going to skip to the HCPCS CPT Finder and show you what that looks like. So we don't have the diagnosis because we're just doing CPT procedures. So the same process. We're just clicking a procedure. So let's just make one up. We'll do a biopsy. Usually it's predictive and will not make you type the whole word. So let's say it was a fine needle aspiration of other, without imaging guidance. So it gives you a code, the same. That was pretty straightforward, but so you just click on Add Procedure, the same process for whatever product that you're in. And just click Next Patient to get back to our original screen where you can choose your product and start playing around with it. So feel free to play around with the encoder. You're not going to break it. Look at the resources, anything you want, and email me if you have questions or concerns. So I hope this short little video helps.